Hello, my name is Kevin Garvel, and I'd like to welcome you coaches and athletes to a comprehensive guide on long snapping and short snapping. This is a three-part video that will break down the mechanics, drills, and weight room exercises to increase your accuracy and velocity as a long and short snapper. The first thing we're going to talk about in breaking down the mechanics is the grip. I'm going to hand Jake the football, and all I want him to do is grab the ball as if he's going to throw it to a partner. As you can see, Jake has good finger spread, okay? And a key coaching point is you want to make sure that the palm is off the football. Another point is with the snapper's guide hand. Start the snapper off with placing the middle finger on the middle seam. You also want to check to make sure that when the snapper does this, he too also has air in between the palm and the ball. Keeping the fingers loose during this on the grip will provide a tight rotation and extra velocity on the snap. The next part in breaking down the mechanics is a stance. As a snapper, you want to be comfortable. Start off with a shoulder width to a little bit wider stance. I'm going to go ahead and turn Jake so that you can see. All I want him to do next is forearms on his thighs. This will get the snapper in a nice low position, hips bent, knees bent, thighs and hamstrings as close to parallel to the ground as possible. Next, I want Jake to go ahead and extend his arms forward, which provides a nice flat back. You can see Jake is in a nice compact, explosive position to produce as much explosive power back towards the punter, which we want to generate as a snapper to increase velocity on our snap. Next part of the mechanical process is addressing the ball. As Jake comes up to the ball and takes his shoulder width to a little bit wider stance, he's going to go ahead and drop his forearms on his thighs. He's going to reach out for the ball, and he's going to extend his arms as much as possible out in front of him. He still wants to keep a slight bend in both elbows, making sure his upper body is nice and loose. You want to also keep the ball as parallel or flat to the ground as possible. A lot of snappers, when they start out, will want to tip the ball straight up. What happens here is their first initial movement has to be out and up in order to produce the snap back. By leaving it parallel to the ground, the snapper can go from point A to point B without having to lift the ball up or forward. The next part of the mechanics is the actual snap. Now, it's very important for the snapper to address the ball every time in a game-like situation. So I'm going to have Jake start out back a couple of yards from the ball, and as he comes up to address the ball, he's going to address it like he's in a game-like situation. He's going to get in his nice, tight, compact position. His arms are out front. The ball is nice and flat. And now what Jake wants to do in the snapping position is target the punter, okay? By doing this, he's going to tuck his chin to his chest, okay? And now he's going to focus on the waist or belly button of the punter, okay? Our snap zone is from the top of the knees, okay, to the armpits and inside the body frame. So by Jake locking his eyes in on the punter right at his waist, with his eyes and his hands going right to the waist, it should allow the ball to travel on a nice flat plane to provide for a perfect snap. Now we're going to talk about the hips and arms. It is very crucial that the hips and arms move together during the snap. So with Jake, I want to make sure that his hips are going to initialize the movement, okay? Once his hips initialize the movement, it's going to allow for his hands to come through, okay? Picture a string that is tied to the knee, and the other end is tied to the wrist. So what it should look like is as Jake fires his hips, his hands are going to start as well, okay? So it's like a pulley effect. So once Jake initializes movement in his hips, it's going to allow for his arms to come through. So his hips are going to fire, his arms are going to come through, okay? He needs to be very explosive with his hips, okay, which will pull his arms through, and it'll force drive back towards the punter, which will allow his toes to replace his heels, in which we will talk about later on in the drill segment. The final part of the snap is the follow-through. Jake is in his compact, explosive position, okay? As he goes ahead and he snaps the ball, and he follows through and finishes, okay? You want to make sure that he's making contact right above his knees with his elbows. It's important that the palms are out and the thumbs are facing up in the sky. You want to finish with the hands as high as possible to allow for that ball to travel on a nice flat plane. If I go ahead and just turn Jake to the side, you also want to be able to see that he has a nice straight linear line with his lower body, and his arms and his lower body are forming an addition sign. You want to make sure that this angle is nice and tight. Some athletes will short arm it, which will open up this angle. You want to make sure that they go ahead, and a key point is throw your shoulders through your knees, which will go ahead and close that angle to make it as tight as possible. The basic mechanics of the long and short snap are very similar. The only thing that differs from the long and short snap is what you do with your lower body. The long snap is a full body movement to provide explosion back towards the punter. The short snap is a upper body movement, keeping the legs still and the feet concrete solidified into the ground. I will have Jake demonstrate right now the differences between the long and short snap. The first thing Jake is going to demonstrate is a long snap. So you notice he's in his compact, explosive position, and on the set hut, Jake is going to fire his hips, provide that explosion back towards the punter, and finish with a good follow-through. Set, hut. Okay, you can see Jake got tremendous movement back towards the punter. He fired the hips, which will help increase the velocity of the ball on a long snap. Now Jake is going to demonstrate the short snap. So you can see he's in his compact, explosive position. Now all Jake's going to do is pop his hips, accelerate his arms, keeping his feet solidified in the ground. Set, hut. Notice he stuck his follow through, palms are out, thumbs are up. Now we'll talk about the protection on the long and short snap. For the long snap, there are really four different things that the snapper can do as far as a protection scheme goes. One, he can help to the left. Two, he can help to the right. Three, he may need to drop straight back and provide help to both A-gaps. Or four, maybe in your protection scheme, the snapper snaps the ball and he heads downfield and into coverage. I will have Jake demonstrate all four. First, Jake will go ahead and drop to the left. Set, hut. Come on back up. Second, Jake will help protect to the right. Set, hut. Okay. And thirdly, Jake will now drop back straight, keeping his legs on parallel train tracks, providing both A-gap help on either side. Set, hut. Good. And now the last one, Jake will go ahead and snap, and he will head downfield. Just missed the camera. Set, hut. Protection for the short snap is very simple. Jake's going to go ahead and get into his explosive position. And once he snaps the ball, he's just going to sink his hips, throw his fist down to the ground, and grab grass and stay nice and low to help form a pile. Set, hut. Good. The second part of the video is our drill section. Our first drill is called ball slaps. What Jake is going to do is he's going to start the ball in his left hand, and he's going to take his right hand and go ahead and slap at the ball. Okay? Then he's going to alternate hands and just continuously slap at the ball. What this does is it allows for the blood flow into the fingertips, it allows for finger stimulation, and it helps with just the overall feel and getting to know the football as a snapper. So Jake is going to go ahead and perform about 20 to 30 slaps on the ball. That's good. What this allows for is for finger stimulation to get the blood flow into the hands, and again, it allows you just to become comfortable with the ball before you start the snapping part of the drill segment. The next drill is called wrist circles. Jake's going to start with the ball in his right hand, and he's going to take his left hand and grab his right wrist. What Jake is then going to do is go ahead and perform 20 circles both forward and 20 circles both backward. And once he is done, he's going to switch hands and repeat it. Make sure you're locking the forearm and you're just using all your wrist and you're getting full movement with the football. Making sure you're squeezing the football into your fingertips, working on finger strength. I'm going to go ahead and just stop Jake here for a second. As a coaching point, you also want to look to make sure that they're keeping that pocket of air in between their palm and the football. Go ahead, Jake. Again, he's keeping his forearm locked. He's rotating only his wrist, and you can see through the white knuckles and the fingertips that he's squeezing the ball, working on his finger strength. Next drill is shoulder circles. Jake's going to place the ball in his right hand. He's going to go ahead and extend his arm. Okay, lock the elbow, keeping the shoulder loose. Again, key coaching point. Make sure that the ball is off the palm and it's not touching. We want to make sure we're squeezing the ball in our fingertips. Again, working on strength and ball feel. Jake is going to go ahead and rotate from the shoulder, both forward and backward, okay, 20 times in each direction. When he completes it with the right hand, he is then going to switch to the left hand and complete the same drill. Feet should stay stationary. Upper body should stay stationary. All Jake wants to be doing is rotating at the shoulder. Again, squeezing the ball in his fingertips, working on the finger grip, the strength. And again, this is a good drill for loosening up the shoulders, as the shoulders are key in the actual snap action. The next drill is ball drops. Jake's going to start with the ball in his right hand. He's going to extend it out front. And what he's going to do is work on finger grip, okay, and ball feel. All he's going to do is he's going to quickly release the ball and try to grab it before it touches the ground. This is working on hand quickness, hand-eye coordination, and Jake is going to perform 10 with his right hand and then switch and go ahead and perform 10 with his left. Ball drops is working on finger strength and also hand-eye coordination. The next drill is just an overhand throw. All these drills are going to be performed at 8 yards apart. With this drill, again, I'm just grabbing it as if I'm throwing it to a partner as playing catch, okay? I want to make sure I have good finger spread. I want to make sure my palm and ball are not in contact with one another. As I start off, I'm gonna make sure that I'm stepping with my opposite foot right to my partner, and my target is right at my partner's chest. I wanna go ahead, come right over the top, producing a nice tight spiral and finishing with my index finger pointing right at my partner. My partner is gonna go ahead and return the throw to me. We are gonna complete this drill with both 10 throws with our dominant hand and 10 throws with our non-dominant hand. Again, I want to lock my eyes right at my partner's chest, provide a good target for him, coming over the top, finish with my follow through. We're going to go ahead and switch hands then. Same thing. I want to step with my opposite foot, coming over the top, pointing with my index finger right at my target. Again, as an athlete and a coach, I want to focus, make sure my palm and the ball are not in contact with one another. Helps provide a nice tight spiral and allow extra velocity on the ball. Working on wrist and finger snap. I'm also working on loosening up my shoulder. At the same time, fixating my eyes on a target, the same target, all the time. That is the overhand throw. The next drill is the underhand throw or fast pitch throw. Same basic mechanics as the overhand throw, except we're going to be throwing the ball underhand, okay? I'm going to start out again with my shoulders parallel or square to my partner. I'm going to step with my opposite foot right towards my target. I'm going to start with the ball down at my side. And I'm going to rotate it up over my head and coming down. So from the side, it's going to look like this. Step towards my target, rotate the ball up, around, and come through. Coaching point is I want to release the ball right as I pass my hip on my upward swing. You can also see that my index finger is starting pointing at my partner. However, as I rotate it, my index finger now becomes a trail finger, and I'm leading with my pinky. So I'm actually rotating the ball from start to finish. My hand is actually going to rotate. So in live action, it looks like this. Again, we'll do 10 with the left hand and 10 with the right hand. On my follow through, I'm pointing at my partner. Providing good wrist snap, finger snap. My eyes are locked in. I'm not trying to see how hard I can throw it. I'm just trying to make sure I get a nice tight spiral and the ball's traveling on a straight line. We're going to go ahead and switch hands. As a modification, some snappers just starting out that may not be as well developed with their offhand, instead of making them come all the way through, they can start with the ball right at their side, and all they're going to do is pull it back and then throw it forward. So I start with my pinky pointing at my target, which would be my finish position, and I'm just going to pull it back as if I was coming down on my downward, and I'm going to release it as I pass my hip. So it'll look a lot like this. So I'm still getting that finger and wrist flexion, but I'm also producing that nice tight spiral with my follow through, my index finger pointing right at my partner. Again, it's just a modification that can be used for a beginning snapper or a snapper that may not be as well developed with their offhand, just to cut down some rotation issues. The next drill is a two-handed overhead pass. What this makes the snapper do is bring his guide hand and add it to the football in order to go ahead and perform this drill. What's different now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my snapping stance, which is shoulder width to a little bit wider, okay? I'm going to get good bend in my knees, and I'm going to get good bend in my hips, okay? So from the side, I want good bend in my knees, good bend in my hips, okay? I'm going to go ahead and extend the ball as high as possible up above my head, again, keeping the palm of the ball of both my snap hand and my guide hand off the football. I want to keep my fingers loose, and I'm going to perform and accelerate my hands towards my partner, okay, allowing the ball to rotate off of my fingertips. This should produce a nice tight spiral on a nice straight line. When I finish, I want to go ahead and finish in the follow through with my palms are out and my thumbs are down. When we talked about our follow through earlier, we talked about our palms out and our thumbs up. Well, if I take this position here and I go ahead and rotate it through my snap, I now have my palms out and my thumbs are up. So again, with the two-handed overhead, I'm going to go ahead, extend the ball up over my head, accelerate my hands forward, and stick my follow through. Eyes are locked on my target. Producing a nice tight spiral. Working on my grip. Making sure my hands are in the right spot. Coaches, go ahead and freeze your snapper when they get to this point, so you can go ahead and check to make sure again that the palm is not touching the ball. That's a two-handed overhead pass. Again, producing a nice tight spiral on a nice linear line. The closest drill to the actual snap that a snapper can perform. The next drill is called feet accelerators. Jake's got his shoulder width to a little bit wider, comfortable stance. He's now going to go ahead and put his forearms on his thighs, get in that good explosive position. Next, he's going to go ahead and explode his hips, okay, which will help drive his feet backwards. So key coaching points is we want that good hip drive. We want good leg extension so the legs are straight. And we want to make sure a good coaching point is that we're going to replace our toes where our heel started. So on the set hut, Jake's going to go ahead and perform this 5 times, and we'll go ahead and do 3 sets of that. Set, hut. Good. Set, hut. Notice he's got good hip drive, the legs are straight, and you can see his toes started here to where he ended up. Again. Set, hut. Set, hut. Set, hut. Set, hut. Set, hut. Set, hut. Again, this is feet accelerators, and this can be done on an individual basis. I wouldn't need to be giving him a set hut command. He could do it on his own. But just for coaching points in this film, just so you can see, you want to explode the hips, you want to get the legs straight, and you want to provide the toes to replace the heels. The next drill is called snapback throws. It's an extension of the feet accelerators that we just did. So Jake's going to go ahead, he's got his stance, he's going to go ahead, sink down, address the ball. We're going to snap an imaginary ball for this. You can see he's in his compact, explosive position. Arms are out front. On the command, he's going to go ahead, explode the hips, shoot the arms through, and hold the follow through. Coaching points that we want to look for, okay? Explosive hips, okay? Driving up. We want to make sure that the legs are getting straight, and we're providing that toe replacing the heel action. We also want to look for our hips and our arms working together. Remember, the hips initialize it, but the arms follow slightly behind or right away. We will do this for 3 sets of 5. We will go ahead and do 10 just for video purposes right now so you can get a good feel of how the drill works. Set, hut. Set, hut. Again, I want to make sure we're getting good straight lines with the legs and the arms. Our follow through, thumbs are up, palms are out. Set, hut. Set, hut. Set, hut. Jake, go ahead and just perform the last 5 on your own then. Again, making sure the athlete is accelerating their arms through the snap zone. We're getting good contact right above the knee with the elbow. Key that the athlete keeps his chin tucked, focusing on a spot that would simulate the punter. Again, as we work our way towards the full snap. Good, Jake. Go ahead and relax. That is snapback throws. The next drill is snapback throws with footballs. It's an extension of the snapback throws that we just performed, except now it allows the athlete to concentrate on a point to provide that follow through and stick that follow through, giving a good hand-ball contact to finish out the drill. The first thing I'm going to ask Jake to do is get down in his stance. Go ahead and extend his arms forward, addressing the ball, and then he's going to go ahead and perform a snap. Go ahead, Jake. Okay, he's going to stick his follow through. Now, the reason I let him do that first is because that momentum back, I'm going to give him some air so I can set the footballs where his hand's finished. He's going to go ahead and reset himself, replacing his feet. And then he's going to explode back, providing good, solid ball-hand contact. We'll go ahead and we'll do 10 sets here, or 10 snaps, excuse me. Good. Again, we're looking for explosion of the hips. I want to make sure Jake is locking out his knees. Are his toes replacing his heels? Tucking his chin. And his eyes should be focused back towards me, and he should be able to see the two footballs and where he's trying to provide that good solid handball contact. Working on explosion, getting that movement back towards the punter, and really working on that acceleration of the upper body and the hands through the snap zone. Again, from this angle, I can also see that Jake is making good contact with his upper knee, and he's getting his hands through because his elbow is making contact there. Go ahead and go 2 more, Jake. Again, really working on sticking that follow through and keeping the hands back. That is ball, hand, or snap back throw, excuse me, with footballs. The next drill is called varying distance snaps. What this allows the snapper to do is put everything together now that we discussed. From all the mechanical standpoints to all the drills is now focused into one drill. What Jake's going to do is he's going to perform 5 snaps at a distance of 10, 12, 15, 18, and then back to 15. The 5 snaps at 18, all we're working on here is the strength component of snapping. I don't want the snapper to change anything mechanically or what they're doing with their hips or their arms to try and get the ball there. If they don't get it there, it's not that big of a deal. It's strictly to build strength and work on trying to maximize that explosion of the hips, maximize our arm acceleration, and maximize our feet drive. So Jake's going to perform 5 snaps at 10 yards. I'm going to be in a catcher's stance. His focus is my chest. And what this provides him to do with me at a catcher stance is keep the ball on a nice, low, flat plane. Again, Jake is maximizing his hip drive, producing that movement backwards towards me. Sticking that good follow through. And making sure that his hips and his arms are working together in unison. Now I'm back at 12 yards, okay, moving a couple yards back in the snap progression. Now the target for Jake changes a little bit. Now I'm standing upright, so he's going to glue his eyes right onto my waist area. Eyes at the waist, accelerate the hands, and he should finish with his fingers pointing right to my waist. Again, key coaching components, exploding the hips, getting good knee lockout, driving the heels back towards the punter, Making sure he's sticking his follow through. Palms are out, thumbs are up. Next, we go to our third varying distance snap, which is 15 yards, which is the average distance that most high schools and colleges will snap at. So Jake will go ahead and perform 5 snaps here at 15 yards. Again, focusing on my waist. His eyes will lock in, accelerating his hands right to my waist, exploding the hips. Making sure he's locking out his knees. And getting that good heel drive back towards me. The fourth distance is now at 18 yards. Again, this is more of a strength building drill for the snapper. Never will they in competition ever snap the ball at 18 yards. So again, all I'm looking for is maximum hip drive, maximum explosion and leg lockout, and getting that drive with the heels back towards me. Making sure they're getting good follow through, palms are out, thumbs are up. Jake will go ahead and perform 5 snaps at this distance. Again, if the snap falls short, I'm not worried about it. It's just to build strength. Helps the snapper focus on maximizing all aspects that go into the snap. It also adds as somewhat of a slight psychological tool for the snapper because it is a greater distance. So when I step back up to the 15 or 14 or 13 yards that most high schools snap at, the snapper will again go ahead and be able to hit that target, and it'll seem much closer, and they will feel much more comfortable with the snap. Really maximize everything now, Jake. Hips, heels, explode, accelerate, follow through. There you go. The final part of the varying distance snaps is now I've returned back to 15 yards. I was previously at 18, which was more of our strength building part and more of our psychological aspect to show the snapper, being back at a farther distance. Now I step up closer, should allow the snapper to focus in and feel more comfortable. I now am at a closer distance, it seems like, to them, and they should be hitting their spot 100% of the time. Again, eyes focused on the waist, shooting the hands, accelerating the hands to the waist, and sticking that follow through. Providing good acceleration and explosion with the hips, good acceleration with the hands, and good follow through. Notice Jake is keeping all of his snaps inside my body frame. I'm not having to go to the right or to the left to catch any of his snaps. Great snap, bad hands on my part. That was the varying distance snap drill. Again, we snapped at 10 yards in a catcher stance, 12 yards standing straight up, 15. Then we went back to 18 to focus on maximum drive with the hips, heels, and hands. And then we came back to 15 yards to allow the snapper to regain that sense of comfort of being closer after coming back from 18. A way you can also progress from this drill too is after the snapper has had a chance to do the varying distance snaps and warm up, then you add the protection aspect to it where they actually snap and they protect to the right, to the left, or straight back. You can also have the snapper go ahead and snap and then sprint 10 or 15 yards downfield to actually make it a game-like situation. We have talked a lot about long snapping. Now I'd like to transition into the short snapping part of the game. I have two specific short snapping drills that I'd like to share. One is called a single arm pull through, and the other one is a snapback throw, short snap style, taking away all lower body movement and just focusing on the upper body acceleration of the arms. The first drill that I'd like to talk about is the one-handed pull-through. Jake's got his good balanced stance, shoulder width to a little bit wider. He's going to get good bend in his knees and good bend in his hips. As we do this drill, I want at least 45 degrees from the hips to the shoulders. I prefer to have the shoulders and back as close to parallel to the ground as possible. When we perform this drill, the snapper needs to extend the ball out in front, keeping it nice and low. We want to keep the hand nice and flat on top of the ball. If I turn Jake towards you, a lot of times snappers want to cock that wrist, okay? This really interferes with the whole snap and the rotation of the ball. So he wants to keep his wrist nice and straight, his arms extended, and you can see it's below his hips right now. So as I turn him back, when he makes that movement backwards, it's kind of an inward movement, and then he's going to snap it back. Going from low to high will help the snap rise and hit the target. As he pulls it through, he wants to release the ball right as he's passing his hip. What this drill is focusing on is a nice tight rotation and release point. We want a nice consistent release point every time so that our ball is traveling at the same height. So what I'm going to do now is Jake's going to turn. I'm going to go back about 7 yards, and Jake's going to perform 10 snaps with both his right hand and his left hand. Again, he wants to keep his shoulders nice and square. He doesn't want to open them up. And as a partner, as a coach, working with a snapper doing this drill, you'll be able to tell if the snapper opens up their shoulder because the ball, right now Jake's snapping with his right hand, the ball will travel way to my left. Again, this drill isn't to see how hard I can snap the ball. Because it is a short snap specific drill, all I'm working on is rotation of the football, acceleration of the arm, keeping my feet solidified into the ground, and concentrating on providing the same release point on every snap. Go ahead and do one more, and then we'll go ahead and we'll switch to the left hand, Jake. Good. Go ahead and switch to the left. Just a couple of coaching points. We talked about the athlete opening up their shoulder. What that may look like is if Jake is snapping the ball to me, when he comes through with the snap, okay, he's going to open this way up, which causes his head to turn. A lot of athletes will want to see, well, where's the ball going, okay? So that they have a tendency to open up their shoulder, their eyes follow, and that pushes the ball, in this case, way to the right because he's snapping with his left hand. Another key point, the athlete may keep their shoulders square. However, when they come through, they may have a tendency to cross their hand, which will also have the ball go right. So you want to make sure they keep their arm on a straight path and they finish with their pinky pointing high in the sky. It's all right. Again, pinky up, high in the sky. There you go, good. Just by providing key terms for the snapper can allow them to make adjustments. Shoulders down. There you go. Again, Jake's doing a nice job of keeping the shoulders square. His feet are not moving. He's accelerating his arm, but he still has good control with the football, producing a nice spiral with a good follow through. Again, we're worried about accuracy. We're looking for release point. And we're looking for a nice tight spiral. 3 key things to look for in the short snap. Let's go ahead and finish up with one more, Jake. You're doing a nice job. Good. The final short snap drill is snapback throws. And we had previously done this with the long snap. The only thing different now is that we're solidifying our feet into the ground. It's all upper body. So Jake's going to go ahead. He's going to get in a good stance. He's going to address the ball, arms out front. And because there is no lower body movement, I can go ahead, squat down, put the footballs right underneath each hamstring, and then he's just going to go ahead, extend his hips, straighten out his legs, and provide that good solid follow through with the palms out, and the thumbs are up. Again, providing that good ball hand contact. We want to hear good slap. So he wants to put a little bit of acceleration behind his hands so we hear that good slap. We will go ahead and we'll do 10 of these. Good. Again, I'm looking for hip extension, straight legs, good follow through, and is Jake making contact with his knees right above the knee with his elbow. Good. Again, his chin should be tucked. He should be focusing in on the target, which are the footballs, all the way through the snap. Let's go ahead and go 2 more. And that is snapback throws for the short snap. Again, working on just an upper body movement, providing hip extension, leg, knee lockout, solidifying the feet into the ground, no foot movement, and just all upper body acceleration with good follow through. Now I'm going to actually have Jake do some short snaps. Again, the short snap and the long snap, the only thing that differs is what we do with the lower body as far as driving the feet back towards the punter. All other mechanics of the snap stay the same. The stance stays the same. I want to address the ball the same. I still want to get in that compact, explosive position, except now instead of being so explosive, all I'm doing is locking out the hips, locking out my knees, keeping my feet stationary into the ground, and it all comes from upper body acceleration with my hands back towards the holder for the short snap. As a snapper, for the short snap, your target area is from waist to nose, from inside shoulder to outside knee. So you can see you got a pretty large area to snap to. As a snapper though, what I like to tell the athletes is to focus their eyes and throw their hands right to this back shoulder, okay? It allows for a little bit of air to the left and allows a little bit of air to the right. A little bit of air up and a little bit of air down. So if you can glue your eyes to the back shoulder, accelerate the hands to the back shoulder, you should have no problems providing a nice tight spiral with great accuracy and speed consistency where it's easy for the holder to catch and set. I'm going to have Jake go ahead and snap 5 short snaps. I'm at a distance of 7 yards right now. As a coach, if I am going ahead and taking snaps from the snapper, I want to focus, again, is he driving his hips up? Is he getting good leg lock out? Are his feet staying stationary? And is he getting good follow through? Palms are out, thumbs are up. When I catch a snap, I want to make sure that the laces are either perfect, which is straight up and down as here, or a quarter turn either to the left or a quarter turn to the right. I can, as a holder, I can get this by either moving myself back slightly from the distance of 7 yards, or as a snapper, I can make a few adjustments, wrists or hands, which we will talk about right after this segment. So Jake now is going to go ahead and snap 5 short snaps, again, focusing on the target area from my waist to my nose, keeping the ball inside my right shoulder and inside my left knee. So Jake, go ahead, focus your eyes right to my back shoulder, and throw your hands right to my back shoulder as well. Okay, good. Again, you can see I caught the ball with a quarter turn to the left, so all I have to do is turn it slightly in order to get laces out. Good. Laces straight up and down. Quarter turn to the right. Again, as long as Jake is consistent with his acceleration of his upper body, he should be able to stay in that quarter turn range. Okay? Again, you could see from that snap that his spiral was not very good and crisp, which allowed for a little bit of flutter, which is why I caught the ball with the laces turned down. Okay, again, release point for Jake that time was a little low. As you can see, it barely got off the ground, and I had to trap it against the turf. Jake, let's go ahead and snap one more. Let's finish on a good one. Again, eyes and hands to my back shoulder. Good. I just want to share with you some tips that the snapper can do on his own, or that you may see as a coach that you can help the snapper with either their snap hand or their guide hand to allow for better rotation and or height or lowering of a snap. We're first going to talk about grip and rotation of the football. If Jake's going to go ahead and place his hands in our standard grip that we talked about, again, his dominant hand is grabbing the football as if he's throwing it, and his guide hand, he has his middle finger on the middle seam. A couple of things that you can do if the athlete is not getting a nice tight spiral. The first is that you can move this middle finger just to the left of the middle seam, so that now the middle seam splits his middle finger and his index finger. Okay? Another thing that may happen is Jake, being a right-handed snapper, sometimes if they put more pressure on their right hand, the snap will have a tendency to float to the left. So one thing you can do is place the snapper's index finger on the middle seam, which then shifts his whole hand, in this case his left hand, over to the left side of the ball. By him putting more pressure on his guide hand, it will help offset the pressure of his snap hand and help the ball travel in a nice straight line. Another thing, Jake, go ahead and put back to the normal grip, is sometimes the athlete's football may travel high or low. If you get an athlete that snaps the ball and has a tendency to keep it low, one adjustment you can make is take the snap hand, or the guide hand, and you're just going to move it slightly up. What this does is it goes ahead and it tips this bottom tip of the football up slightly to allow more air to get underneath it. Jake, why don't you go ahead and turn yourself so you face me so we can show the camera. So if Jake puts his hand on the ball and he has a tendency to keep snapping it low, I'm just going to tell him to move his guide hand up. Now when the ball comes through his legs, it's going to catch air underneath the tip and allow it to have a little bit more rise in the snap. On the other hand, if the athlete is consistently snapping it high, you're going to tell the athlete to go ahead and adjust his hand down towards the tip. It's going to force more pressure onto the bottom half of the ball, which as it comes through his knees and his legs and he performs his snap, it's going to travel on a lower trajectory, keeping it nice and low within the snap area. Jake, go ahead and turn back towards the camera, please. And this is the only adjustment I like to make as far as the hands go on a short snap is with the snap hand. We talked about getting the laces up for a perfect snap, or a quarter turn to the right or a quarter turn to the left. One thing that you can do as a snapper and as a coach that may see that a snapper may need this is to have them cock their wrist a little bit. And what that means is Jake's he's going to take his normal ball slightly so you can see there's more cock in his wrist. What this will allow for, it'll allow for a little bit more rotation on the ball, but it'll help it also get to that quarter turn area. It also puts a lot of pressure on the snapper to keep a nice consistent ball the whole time that they are involved in the snap. A consistent ball will equal hitting a perfect snap all the time. What can happen is a snapper doing a short snap may accelerate his arms on one snap and may not accelerate them with the same velocity on the next, which will allow for a ball, you can go ahead and relax, Jake, which may allow for a ball on one hand to come here, and on the next snap it comes here. So by working on the drills and doing each drill with both hands, it allows for that consistency, and it makes adjustments easier as a coach and as a snapper to tweak the little things if I can stay consistent and accurate. The third and final portion of the video is the weight room portion. These are snap-specific exercises that the snapper can do to maximize their strength in the snapping movement. The first exercise that we're going to focus on is the hang clean. The hang clean will allow the snapper to maximize the explosion in their hips. What Jake will do is, first he's going to go ahead and grab the bar, and when you perform the hang clean, you're going to start with the bar right above your knees. Okay? The first movement is going to be a slight movement down, and then you're going to explode upward focusing the movement right at the hips. The hips and the quads are going to fire up, which will bring the bar, and the momentum of the bar will cause the shoulders to shrug. Once you get into this position, the athlete will then drop underneath the bar, catching it right underneath the chin, right above the pectorals, and then press it upwards. Jake will go ahead and perform 5 of these so you can see exactly what it looks like in real-time motion. Jake's going to take the bar, get it set right above the knees, drop down, explode, catch, and then press up. Good. Again, he's focusing on driving from the hips, catching it, and then pressing. The movement starts at the hips, just like the snap, getting full explosion, providing that good hip explosion. Good, Jake. Do 2 more. He's getting good hip drive. Notice he's extending the legs, getting up on his tiptoes, sinking down, catching it, pressing it. Go ahead and rack it. That is the hang clean. Again, we're focusing on that hip explosion. We're getting leg extension, dropping up underneath it, and again, providing that stand up where we have to start the movement at the hips. The next activity that we're going to do for snapping is just a regular pull-up. This will help with the development of the back muscles that are key to the actual snap movement. So Jake will go ahead. He'll go ahead and place his hands in the overhand grip position above with these handles, and he will slowly pull himself up all the way to his chin, making sure he concentrates on squeezing the muscles in the back, and then he will extend himself all the way down to the start position, and he will do this 5 times. Make sure he gets maximum extension with the arms. Again, we're focusing on the back area right here. Do 1 more for me. Press. Good. So that's the pull-up. Again, we're using our natural body weight to help us pull ourselves up, which is the fastest way to strengthen your back. The next exercise is called the back complex. Jake is going to use 5-pound dumbbells. He's going to perform the W, a T, and a Y movement. He'll drop the 5-pound, pick up the 35 pounds, and perform a shrug. Each of these exercises will be done for 10 repetitions, and that will complete the exercise. Jake is going to lay down. That bench will be angled at 45 degrees. He's going to place his chin tightly against the bench. He's going to go ahead and perform the W, leading with his pinkies back towards me. He's going to perform this 10 times, getting good extension. 6, 8, 10. Now he's going to go ahead and go into the T, again leading with the pinkies out to the side. Nine, 10. Now he's going to do the Y, coming on up. Good. Again, leading with the pinkies. 6, 7, trying to keep his arms straight. 9, 10. Good. Go ahead and drop the light weight. Pick up the heavier weight. Now we're going to squeeze. We don't want to squeeze at the shoulders. We want to go ahead and squeeze mid-back. Go ahead and pick up the weight, Jake. And he's just going to try and squeeze. Good. My fingers. 3. Good. 4. 1 more. Good. That's the back complex. Again, focusing on a main muscle group that is involved in the snap motion. This next exercise is as close as you can get to the actual snapping movement. Jake's going to step on up. What I've done is I have lowered this so that it's close to the ground, and attached is a tricep rope that Jake is going to use, and he's going to actually perform the actual snap motion. So Jake went ahead and he preset his weight, something that he can handle. He's going to go ahead and get in the actual snap stance. Again, he's going to get down in a low, nice, compact position. Again, hips are down, thighs and quads are parallel to the ground. He's got his arms extended out front. His chin is going to be tucked to his chest. He's going to be focusing on his target in the back, and he's going to go ahead and explode through the actual snap, providing good follow through with his wrists. Go ahead, Jake. Good. And he's going to stick his follow through. And all this is doing now is it's actually providing some resistance for Jake as he goes ahead and does the actual motion of the snap. Again, he's firing his hips. He's getting good knee lockout. The only thing that we're not going to do in this drill is fire our feet back because we are dealing with weight. I don't want to provide the athlete with any sort of injury. He's going to go ahead and do this 10 times, and we will consider that one set. Let's go ahead and do 3 more. Good. Now, transitioning, if you may not have something like this in your weight room, what you can do is go ahead and put a straight bar on this pulley system. And again, set the weight to something that you can handle. And now you're just going to stand with your arms locked out straight. Again, loose elbows, and you're just going to bring it down right to your waist. Again, keeping the arms nice and tight and bringing it down and holding the follow through right at the waist. Jake will go ahead and do 10 of these. Again, focusing on the back. Keeping a good stance. I want to get my shoulder width stance, just as if I'm snapping the ball. Again, performing the upper pull movement of the arms that is involved in the actual snap. Jake can really accelerate his hands downward. And again, you can adjust the weight to something that you can handle. You can go heavy, you can go light. We really want to just try to develop this back muscle as much as possible. Go ahead and finish up with 3 here. 2 more. Good. 1 more. All right. Now transitioning again from that is we can do what we call a weighted ball snap. At some schools, you may have a weighted football that you can use, but for right now, we're just going to use an 8-pound med ball. Jake's going to go ahead, take his stance, again, using the mechanics that we talked about earlier. He's going to explode the hips. This time he is going to get that drive back towards the wall. He's going to focus a spot on the wall, accelerate his hands, throwing the ball right against the wall. The only thing you have to be careful about is the ricochet of the ball back towards you, just making sure that you stay heads up and are able to catch the ball as it comes back off the wall. Good. Go ahead and do 5 of these. Good. Again, you want to be explosive. Coaching points, exploding the hips, locking the knees out, driving the feet back, sticking that follow through. Again, your follow through is going to shorten up because of the ricochet off of the wall. Do 1 more for me, Jake. Tucking his chin, focusing on the target. Just an additional note. We had just gone over some of the key specific weight training movements that can help a snapper become better by developing the key muscles involved in the snap motion. I also want to talk about the importance of abdominal development. The more that you can train your abdominals in the snap, you will become much better in your movement, being able to decrease that gap we talked about between your torso and your thighs when you hit that follow through, and understanding that when we explode and we accelerate, we're putting a lot of strain on our abs. So the more that we can train our abs, the stronger they are, the quicker we will be with our movements and the acceleration of our arms to become an overall better snapper with both accuracy and velocity. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully as a coach or as a snapper, you are able to take a few things from this instructional video and apply them to the on-field aspect of snapping long and short. Through drill repetition and the breakdown of the mechanics, I am positive that you will be able to, as a snapper, become more accurate and increase your velocity of both the long and short snap.